It's a complicated theory based on the deleterious effects of electromagnetic fields. I hardly know this family, beyond what I've been able to discern from the slogans on the handmade signs they display in their front yard. I know they believe the overhead wires that run above our houses cause all manner of human ailments, and for this reason they've planted a growing field of carefully tended crosses in their lawn, one for each neighbor who's died since they began keeping track of such things shortly after moving into one of the newer housing tracts not far from my home, nearly 8 years ago. I only spoke to them once, not long after they'd begun planting crosses in their lawn. It was one of those impossibly warm Southern California days that almost always occurs in early February, the sort of day that sings to those who wish to leave behind the bone-chilling heartbreak of winter and make a new life for themselves in the promise of eternal sunshine. I probably would not have stopped to talk to this particular family, except that I was driving slowly past their home so that I might get a better look at the crosses and the curious signs on their lawn. Because of the heat, my car windows were open. "Hey, Grandpa!" I heard a man shout. My initial instinct was to press my acceleration pedal down. But then I heard another voice, a woman's voice. It sounded determined yet vulnerable at the same time. "You will help us?" I know it seems foolish. They were strangers, but they were my neighbors as well. I pulled to the curb. The woman smiled and rushed to the edge of her lawn. She was thin and agitated, with dark, lanky hair and an oily copper complexion. She held a clipboard in her hand. "Can you sign this?" she said, running around the driver's side of my car. She handed me the clipboard and a pen through my open window. "Por favor?" "May I read it first?" She glanced back at the man who stood 30 feet away in the gape of the open garage, a beer in one hand and some sort of power tool in the other. She nodded quickly at me. As I read through the Xeroxed copy of the petition which would ban all manner of overhead electrical wires in residential neighborhoods, it seemed prudent to ask the woman who stood so desperately by my car door why she was doing what she was doing, but that wouldn't have been polite. Instead, I inquired where she was from. That's what new neighbors do. At least, that's what they used to do. This is how I learned that she was originally from Texas, somewhere south of Dallas, that she'd moved to California with her father, who was in the military. It's also how I learned that she loved sunshine and open spaces, and that she feared the overhead power lines, which she said reminded her of barbed wire fences. When I was finished reading her petition, I told her I was very sorry, but I didn't wish to sign it. I told her it made no sense to me. She squeezed her eyes shut, and she thanked me just the same, scurrying back to the garage and handing the clipboard to the man I can only assume was her husband. I heard shouting as I pulled away from the curb. It was only later that I realized I'd forgotten to ask her name. The following December, my neighbors took to stringing their crosses with winking colored lights to mark the Christmas season. The spring after that, they tied pastel pink and blue and yellow ribbons on the crosses at Eastertide. Independence Day is now demarcated by tiny American flags, and every October they drape their crosses in orange and black crepe paper and set a lighted jack-o'-lantern in their midst. And all the while their field of crosses continues to grow. I found their agitated theories rather ludicrous, disturbing even. But what disturbed me for far too long is that I didn't recognize a single name on any of their crosses. My neighbors are no longer my neighbors. There's no longer any visceral connection between us other than that they are the strangers who live nearest to me. Day after day, all I hear are leaf blowers and cars with pounding speakers that cruise slowly down my street. And night after night, sirens wail and helicopters beat the air over my home.